At some point last year, a woman sat across from her therapist and said, "I think I'm losing my mind. I can't remember things properly. I get confused in conversations. I feel like I'm going crazy." Her therapist asked her one question: "Does this only happen around one specific person?" She went completely silent. She wasn't losing her mind, she wasn't confused, she wasn't going crazy. She was being deliberately, systematically, psychologically manipulated by someone that she completely trusted. And the most terrifying part of her story, which I'm going to come back to, is that she spent so many years blaming herself for every single symptom of what was being done to her. The story is not rare. It is not extreme. It is happening to ordinary people in ordinary relationships every single day. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how it works. 4 specific psychological tactics that manipulators use to control the people closest to them. Not vague red flags, not generic advice, the actual mechanics. How it works, why it works, and what it feels like from the inside when it's happening to you. Because the only thing that makes these tactics powerless is understanding them. Let's get into it. Here's what you need to understand before anything else. Manipulation is not a personality trait. It's a skill set. And like any skill set, some people are better at it than others. The most effective manipulators are not angry, aggressive, or obviously controlling. They are warm, charming, often the most likable person in the room. Because here's the thing. You cannot manipulate someone who doesn't trust you. Trust is the raw material. The closer someone is to you, the more access they have to the specific thing that makes you vulnerable. Your fears, your past, your need for love and approval. And a skilled manipulator uses that access the way a locksmith uses a key, precisely without force, and you don't even hear the door open. What makes this especially devastating is something psychologists call the betrayal blindness effect. Our brains are actually wired to not see manipulation coming from people we depend on emotionally, because seeing it would force us to blow up something that we need. So the brain protects us from that truth until it can't anymore. These 4 tactics are what that truth actually looks like. The first one, they make your emotions the problem, never their behavior. You bring something up, something real, something that genuinely hurts you, and instead of responding to what you said, they respond to how you said it. Your tone was too harsh, your timing was wrong, you're being too sensitive. You always do this. You're overreacting. You make everything into such a big deal. Why? And suddenly, the thing that hurt you is completely off the table. Because now you're defending your right to be upset instead of actually talking about what really upset you. The real issue got buried the moment they redirected your emotions. This is one of the most effective control tactics in existence. And it works because it exploits something genuinely good about you. Your willingness to reflect on yourself. A person who is actually willing to ask, "Was I too harsh?" is a person who can be redirected endlessly, because there will always be something about your delivery to critique. Always a reason why this wasn't the right time, always a version of events where your emotions are the right problem. Here's what it does over time. You start self-editing before you even open your mouth. You rehearse how to bring things up in a way that can't be criticized. You get smaller and smaller in how you express yourself, not because your feelings changed, but because the cost of expressing them became too high. Psychologists call this emotional invalidation as control. And research shows that it is one of the leading causes of anxiety in close relationships, not because it feels dramatic, but because it feels so constant and so easy to mistake for you simply needing to communicate better. You do not need to communicate better. You need someone who responds to what you're saying instead of dismantling the way you said it. Tactic number 2, they create a reality where you always owe them something. Think about how much this person has done for you. Really, think about it. Because if you're around a manipulator, you probably know that list by heart, because they made sure of it. Every favor gets referenced later. Every sacrifice gets brought up at exactly the right moment. Every good thing that they ever did for you exists not as a memory, but as debt. One that gets collected whenever you try to assert yourself, set a boundary, or simply say no. This is called manufactured obligation, and it is breathtakingly effective because it weaponizes gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most natural human emotions. Feeling indebted to someone who has genuinely helped you is normal and healthy. But a manipulator doesn't help you because they care. They help you because investment produces leverage. Every nice thing they do is a deposit into an account they fully intend to withdraw from at the worst possible moment in the highest possible amount. The pattern looks like this. You try to create distance, suddenly they remind you of everything that they've done. You try to disagree with them and they bring up a favor from 6 months ago. You try to leave and they present a full accounting of every sacrifice that they made for you and ask you how you could possibly do this after everything that they have done. And you stay. Not because you want to, because somewhere inside you, you genuinely feel like you owe them. You don't. Generosity that comes with a price tag attached is not generosity. It is a transaction that you never agreed to. And the fact that you feel guilty about walking away from that, it's not proof that you're wrong. It is proof that the system worked exactly as designed. The third thing, they rewrite every argument until you can't remember what was the real truth. Remember that woman I told you about at the beginning of this video, the one who thought she was losing her mind, who was going crazy? This is what was being done to her. You have a conversation, something happens, something real, something that you witnessed with your own eyes and felt it in your own body, and this person tells you calmly, very confidently, sometimes in a very gentle way, that it didn't happen that way. You misunderstood, you're remembering it the wrong way, that's not what they said, that's not what they meant, you're twisting things. And because they said it with such certainty and because you genuinely care about being fair, you start to wonder, maybe you did misunderstand, maybe your memory isn't perfect, maybe you are being unfair. So you sat back and they move forward, and the next time it happens, you back down a little faster, and the time after that, faster still. Until eventually you stop trusting your own memory of events entirely, until you consult them to find out what actually happened in your own life, until your entire grip on reality runs through them, which means that they control it completely. This is gaslighting. And I know that word gets thrown away a lot these days, but I want you to understand what it actually means at a psychological level. It is a deliberate, repeated erasure of someone's confidence in their own perception. It is not an argument tactic. It is not losing your temper. It is a long-term strategy to make someone dependent on your version of reality, because a person who can't trust their own mind will never trust themselves enough to leave. The woman in my story eventually got better. Her therapist gave her one tool. She started writing things down immediately after conversations. What was said, what happened, what she felt. And when she had her own record in her own handwriting, she couldn't be talked out of it anymore. So if someone in your life consistently makes you feel confused about things you know you experienced and they really happened, start writing them. Buy a journal, buy a diary, start writing them down. Your memory is not broken. It is being tampered with, and I need you to understand this. The fourth and last one, they punish you with silence until you become who they need you to be. This one is the most emotionally brutal tactic on this list because it doesn't require a single word. You do something they don't like, you disagree with them, you spend time with someone they disapprove of, you show a little too much independence and they go cold. Not angry, just cold. The warmth disappears completely. The attention shuts off. The connection that you valued, that you built your emotional life around, gets quietly withdrawn. And you feel it immediately. That specific awful anxiety of someone you love pulling away, that desperate need to fix it, to close the distance, to get back to how things were. And so you reach out. You apologize, sometimes for things that you're not even sure you did wrong. You adjust your behavior, you become smaller, more careful, more accommodating, and eventually, when you've sufficiently corrected yourself, the warmth comes back, like sunshine after a storm. And you feel relieved and grateful. And you don't even notice that you just got trained. This is called intermittent reinforcement. That altering pattern of withdrawal and warmth that creates the strongest possible emotional attachment and the deepest possible compliance. It is the same psychological mechanism behind addiction. Did you know that? The unpredictability is the point, because a brain that doesn't know when the reward is coming will work harder and harder to get it. And over time, this tactic produces a person who is hyper-vigilant to the moods of their manipulator, constantly monitoring for signs of disapproval and gradually willing to sacrifice more and more of themselves to avoid that cold behavior. It is not love that keeps people in these dynamics. It is the neurological aftermath of being repeatedly rewarded and punished by the same person until your nervous system simply can't function without them. The silence is not them processing their feelings. It is them adjusting yours. This is what I want you to walk away with today after watching this video. None of these tactics work on someone who can name them. The moment you can look at a behavior and say, I know what this is and I know why this is happening, it loses its grip completely. You can't gaslight someone who writes things down. You can't guilt someone who understands manufactured obligation. You cannot silence someone who knows the silence is designed to reshape them. Knowledge is not just power here. Knowledge is the only exit. If this video made something click for you, something that you've been feeling but couldn't put into words, hit that subscribe button, because the conversation we just had, that's what this channel does every single week. And the next video is going to go even deeper. I'm sure you don't want to miss it. This is The Shift. I'll see you guys in the next one.